Hello and welcome to the Clockwork Noodles. This is Noblesse episode 9 breakdown. This week's episode was Bloodpact / Devote. And before we get into the amazing episode that was actually pretty in-depth and quite explanatory, we are going to quickly go into the boring stuff. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Go ahead and give that little sub button a bit of love. And devote yourself to the sub button. I have my Winter 2021 video going up quite shortly with the animes that I intend to be airing upon next season. Also, I will be announcing my top 3 anime of fall 2020 with my honourable mention. So make sure you guys are subscribed so you get an announcement for when that goes up. Also, there is a Discord channel, so head on over so you get notified whenever videos go up, and it will be a place where I will slowly be expanding to talk more and act more once we get a bit bigger as a community. Also, before we go into the episode, last week I mentioned Hero Cantare and the fact that Noblesse was being added, and it went live 2 days ago, and yes, I've spoiled some of the anime for myself, but I actually don't care because of how amazing these cards look, and I was screaming. I got Frankenstein. I am absolutely over the moon that I have Frankenstein. I also have the unleashed version of Raz. I have Raz's normal version. I have Sierra. I've got M21. I've also got a guy from The Awakening, and I also have another character who I suspect is going to be popping up at some point in this anime. So, spoiled a few things for myself, but absolutely fantastic. So if you are a fan of games and you are playing the game, Noblesse is up there right now. You can also get your first character selected for free, so you can pick which one you want. I picked Raz Unleashed version because he looked awesome. And we do get that version teased this episode, so let us go straight into the video as well. They are not a sponsor. I just absolutely like playing games at the same time as talking about anime. This week's episode picks up immediately from last week's episode where Franken ends up meeting Raz for the first time. You can tell it's so serious because there are no credits at all during this entire episode. We don't get an open, we don't get an exit. There's no song playing for the open, but the song plays over a scene at the end. So you know it's going to be a full-on episode. This is a full episode. We waste no time in getting down to Franken makes a poor lie about being hired by the new lord, about being a new servant. However, Raz likes to break it to him that maybe not the best mansion to be picking right now because he is, sadly, the master of the house and he lives alone. Where we are interrupted by Gajutal and Rhaegar, and they request to take Franken back to the lord with him. And that is when Raziel uses some of his powers to change Franken's outfit into a butler's uniform. I would love to have powers like that, just to be like, what do I fancy wearing today? I don't know. And then magicking up my own outfit. That would be so handy. And then he states that Franken belongs to him and that he'll be working at the mansion. We then get a jump forward, but also a jump back from the present. So we are now 5 years ago from the present, and we can see that a bit of time has passed, and Franken is dueling Rhaegar. And he's using his dark spear, which I have that in the game now. It's great. Franken is able to use dark spear, but as soon as he kind of channels it a bit further, he starts to push himself. He ends up going out of control, and that's when he loses control, goes berserk. Thankfully, he kind of restrains it up until the end, that he kind of snaps out of it. And we do see Rhaegar training Franken, but he's also quite nice enough to help him up off the floor, which is a surprising turn from a guy who last episode was trying to wipe the guy out, which is a nice little change there. Overlooking our entire sequence, we have Raz. Gajutal again stating that he believes that keeping Franken there at the mansion is a bad idea because he's still dangerous. And he also states that Raz is going to be thought of really unfavourably by nobles for sheltering the human who murdered some of the nobles. However, we do see something quite nice where Raz actually apologises to Gajutal and promises that he's going to be careful, which then makes Gajutal beg him to take Franken with him and go and see the Lord to show his obedience and try and save a bit of face. And this week's episode does introduce us quite heavily to Raz's isolation. Franken states that he's never seen Raz leave the manor since he's been working for him, which basically states that he hasn't left the manor for 5 years. And I might change Raz's name to King Antisocial because this This is like taking like the whole isolating thing too far. To be fair, Raz would be 2020's isolation quarantine king. We do find out that he mostly just stares out into the garden all day. He apparently is always looking at the sky, the earth, and his own surroundings. And we do start to see the bond between Raz and Franken start to grow, where Raz does say, "I like your tea." So we're King Antisocial is just bad at handling people, but obviously the entire season we've had in front of us is showing us Raz starting to come out of that antisocial shell of his and starting to understand how to interact with people better, which is the entire wrap up at the end of this episode, where we see Raz with his made up family of weirdos. We see Franken being a very brave boy, where he ends up visiting, and we get the sea of whispers and the hate around him as he goes to see the Lord. That is also a point where we get to learn how Raz and the Lord are related. He states it's very similar to that of a father and son, a brother and brother, so we can just infer that they are close, relation-wise, but that couldn't be said about the actual bond between the two. We know that the Lord loves Raz. He definitely has care for him and he really wants to spend more time with him. But Raz, the same can't really be said. It does remind me a bit of the relationship between Yuki and Aya from Fruits Basket, where Aya now loves his brother, but Yuki doesn't want anything to do with his brother. So it does remind me of that kind of relationship where one absolutely adores the other not so keen. And that is when the Lord goes, "I envy you, Franken," because obviously Franken is now alone with Raz, and Raz is actually hanging out with him, talking to him probably. Presumably he does speak to Franken a bit. And that is when he asks if Franken has formed a pact, aka a blood pact. And we get to learn that one of the perks of a blood pact is that you get a longer lifespan. We do get a bit of an insight into how Franken is feeling, essentially, where he says that he doesn't really want to serve nobility for the rest of his life, but that is also when the Lord interjects and says, "Why have you kind of stayed with him for so long, if that is the case?" This episode slowly showing us how Franken starts to come around to wanting to do that blood pact in the end. I think the key point of the episode is just how lonely Raz really is. We do learn that he does occasionally break the oath and ends up exposing the secrets of the nobles at times. We see Franken starting to get more and more angry. He mocks the Lord and the fact of the noble duty, where he says, "As the Lord, you should abolish the worthless system." It's really hard to see how the Lord kind of reacts, because he does laugh it off. So whether he agrees or not, or whether he just can't, because he does say it would be easier if I could do that, inferring that it's probably not as easy as we think to break a system and break the actual way the things are. And that's when he says, "I entrust Raz's care to you." So we can see that the Lord actually does kind of trust Franken as well. So obviously Raz likes Franken, and that's obviously why he's sheltering him, and he definitely has kept him for 5 long years. We're also seeing that the Lord himself is on the same boat. Franken leaves, and that's when we see the negative side of making some of these decisions. We are faced with some of the nobles who are not favourable with the idea. They do not believe that Raz and Franken should have a blood pact, but that is where we see the Lord backing himself up, going, "I believe that the two should." We get a new face for this week, and that is a guy called Urukai. It really does remind me of Lord of the Rings there. And he is literally disgusted by the idea of the blood pact between a human and Raz. Even Gajutal states that if a blood pact is to occur, even the most diehard Raz fans would be the ones not supporting it as well. So people who absolutely support Raz would be turned off the idea if he was suddenly to have a blood pact with a human. I like the Lord, guys. I don't know if this is probably a good thing to say, but it's the fact that he even says, "I just want Raz to be happy." He's only really concerned by the happiness, which, I don't know, I kind of feel a bit sad seeing the relationship between Raz and him in this episode just not really being existent. And if the present is anything to go by, we're going to have to find out what actually happened between Raz and the Lord for Raz to be considered a traitor and the reason that drove the Lord to his death. So it's going to be very interesting to see some of the pieces fall into place about that, because something definitely happened, and it's sad because it does look like it is, on top of the head, it does look like the Lord is actually quite a favourable person who does and only cares about Raz's happiness. So I like him. I think he's quite a cool character. Over the next coming few weeks, months, however long it is, we see Franken ending up going backwards and forwards to the castle, and Gajutal even asks him why he's back as he's been summoned, where we learn that Franken is now the new carrier pigeon, and it's that we see the Lord being very desperate for a response from Raz. He's trying to use Franken to spur a conversation, try to get a conversation going between the two. I just feel really bad. I do feel quite sad between the fact that he really wants to connect to Raz, but Raz isn't really reciprocating. Gajutal tells Franken not to cause Raz any trouble, and he also says that he is risking his life for sheltering you. That is when angry boy Urukai comes back, and he decides to volunteer as a sparring partner to Franken. Thankfully, Franken does acknowledge the fact that he is a hostile. The next sequence is kind of interesting. So, straight off the bat, round 1, Franken versus Urukai. The result is Urukai wins it straight, hands down. But as we start going through these rounds, Franken gets more and more worked up. So, round 2, we see Franken getting more and more fired up. He summons the Dark Spear. And that is when we learn from Rhaegar that Franken is trying to hold himself back because he understands that he cannot control the Dark Spear's powers. That does show us that Franken is aware of his own powers and he is showing restraint. So kudos to the guy for actually being able to be aware of your own limits. But annoyingly, Franken decides that it's a good idea to wind up Urukai a bit by saying that because Raz won't go and even bother with you, that you're taking out your bad attitude on me, which is a really bad idea because he ends up losing at this point, where we learn that from Urukai that they're not even permitted to go near Raz. Franken stepping on a bit of a wound there. Round 3 is the point of no return, where Franken ends up kind of surpassing his limits, ending up losing his top. So again, as a Franken fan, I can't be angry at the fact that he ends up pretty much nude at one point. Franken getting really, really angry. He ends up going berserk because Urukai has pretty much tipped him over. It sounds like he's insulting the way Raz is, and that's when Franken is just getting angry because obviously he understands Raz on a different level. Where we cut scenes now to the rain pouring, and Urukai has seemingly, I wanted to say he's lost an eye. I think he's taken a hit to the eye. Whether he's lost it or not is something I can't call, but it does look like he won't be using that eye anytime soon. We see Gajutal and Rhaegar having to step in now because Franken has gone berserk and he ends up kind of out of control, where he starts to gear up this attack, which is held off by Raz and the Lord. A pairing I thought I'd be very excited to see, but it just doesn't go anywhere. Raz is the one who ends up blocking the berserk Franken's attacks. One of his attacks goes a bit loose and it ends up cutting Raz on his face, and that's when he uses his own blood for his own attacks, for his own powers. This is when, obviously, me playing Hero Cantare has spoiled it a little bit for me, because at that moment, they do tease the unleashed Raz form with the wings. I'm not going to put the card up, just in case there are actually anime-onlys still following me, but the card looks absolutely gorgeous, and seeing Raz in the fight using those powers is awesome. And I have grown a bit more in favour of Raz since playing Hero Cantare, because him in the game, seeing him actually quite animated and seeing him using attacks and powers and talking a lot more, it's quite nice to see that side of him. So a bit more of a fan, but thanks to the game. Raz is able to block Franken's spear with just one hand, where he calms down Franken. But this is when we see the first half of the blood pact taken, where Franken has a wound similar to Raz on his face, where he takes a bit and ends up touching that to his lip. And this is enough to send Franken collapsing to the floor, back to his normal self. Once he regains his consciousness, he is back in the mansion, where Raz informs him that the pair of them need to go back to the castle quite soon because they are now resented by many people. And the entire sequence between them now it feels like there is sadness hanging in the air between them. It also seems like there's a lot of unspoken words, unspoken feelings at this point, where as Franken is leaving, we see Raz coughing up the blood, because obviously when he uses his powers, he ends up putting pressure on his own self. I think triggers Franken to actually make the decision to do what he's about to do, because he even says, I can't work out why he would go to such lengths for somebody like me. And that is when he decides to put some blood in Raz's tea. Yummy. Absolutely yum, yum, yum. and Raz accepts it and drinks it, and that is when our blood pact is complete. They both essentially have to agree to an exchange of souls, and the nice thing about the blood pact is the fact that it symbolizes the fact that they both accept one another for who they are, which I really like. Initially, I was a little confused when I saw Raz do it initially, just taking the blood and Franken collapsed there. I was like, ooh, is that it? But it's a bit sad that Franken didn't really get a say in the matter. So it did look initially like he'd done the blood pact without the consent of Franken. But no, it's nice to see that this is a condition to the blood pact, which is quite nice added in, that they both have to accept one another and they both have to give their consent to the blood pact. So that is now official. And we now return to our present day, where we see Gajutul again saying that he regrets not stopping the blood pact between the two. And that is when Franken says, would you prefer Raz to stay alone, forever alone, essentially? Raz is forever alone, that old meme. Gajutul says, I want Raz to prove his innocence so he can go back to living in Ludonia once more. But that's not really what Raz wants, is it? Because Raz enjoys the company of the humans. We know he's... essentially, what most of the season has been trying to get across is Raz likes life as it is right now. He enjoys the company of the humans. He likes hanging out with Sierra and Regis, and he likes the craziness between the security guards and maybe even Silver and Regis constantly arguing over nothing. And of course, top priority, guys, ramen. Ramen is, of course, key reason to want to stay where you are right now. Can Raz eat ramen in the Ludonia? I doubt it. I really can't imagine the nobles having ramen shops anywhere. It's a human invention, so I doubt the nobles would have ramen. Would definitely make me want to stay where I am. The end credits roll over the sequence now, so we don't actually get the ED either, but we do get a really nice scene of the guys playing cards, and Sierra, my girl, I'm so happy I do actually have clan leader Sierra's card, Hero. Very happy that I pulled her because she is my favourite female character for Noblesse. And we get to see how amazing her poker face is. That is when Gajutul says that Raz has changed. Franken tells him that it's not just because of that, it's because Raz now has this family of weirdos around him. I've warmed to Gajutul a little bit. I am warming to him, where he tells Sierra and Regis that he is leaving, but he doesn't force Sierra and Regis to go with him. But he simply tells Regis that one day you're going to be clan leader, so you can't stay as you are forever. Essentially, enjoy the moment, learn things like Raz is doing right now. So make the most of learning things and make sure you live like a proud noble, like live how you want to live, but as a noble. Good old Gajutul, I do have to say, Gajutul going up the ranks in my books with that ending. And good old Badgerbeard, as I want to call him. Naturally, though, we can't have a good ending just yet. It is episode 9. There are 3 more episodes to go. We can't just end. Back in Ludonia, we do see exactly what I was fearing. Gajutul reports back. It's just the fact that he goes, oh yeah, they made a mistake. And then you've got the Lord Gunner going, 2 prodigies made the same mistake. Really? Like, you don't want to put any effort into this. The Lord threatens to read Gajutul's mind. This is also a new Lord as well. So completely forgetting the name. I think it was something like Razkera or something. I forgotten the name. I'm sure it will come up at some point, but for now we'll just call her the new lord of the Ludonia. She threatens to read Gajutul's mind, where Gajutul then goes, it's not going to be an easy thing, so go for it. But that is when she threatens Sierra, and you don't threaten my girl, baby. You don't threaten Sierra. So you are not. I don't like this lord. This lord isn't as cool as the other lord. Rayjack now. So yes, I know initially we had a bit of a mix up with the two last week. Rayjack with he's got the bangs which sweep over one side of his face, and he's also, I think he's taller, whilst Rhaegar has the ponytail. And Rayjack is asked by the Lord to imprison Gajutul and bring Sierra to her. And that is when his younger brother Riel he interrupts and says, I will go because I'm a better choice to bring back Sierra because I know her. And that is when we see the episode ending with Riel being instructed to bring back Sierra at any cost. Another really good episode. I feel like, as a whole, this season is getting good at the end. I feel like I've been okay. And then the last 2 episodes, I've been like, ooh, I am now invested because things are starting to make sense. We're starting to get some key information going down. The world is starting to make a lot more sense. Last week, I had my aha moment. This week, I'm going, Ah, okay, I see how that fits. A lot of things starting to fit in. We have got simply 3 more episodes now before the end. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. I have a feeling that our girl Sierra is going to have a bit more relevance to play now. Hopefully she is going to be okay. I'm sure she can handle herself. I mean, she's a pretty decent character within the game I'm playing, so I'll go with that. Very excited to see where the anime is going. Obviously, we're going to be ending quite shortly. Not sure if a second season will be announced. I mean, I'll hold out for it, but none of the webtoon adaptations have got second seasons as of yet that I'm aware of. So it's going to be interesting to see if they do give it a green light. Whether or not it does, I do think I will be reading the manhwa at some point, the webtoon. I'm going to have a look at it myself. Probably when I find a bit of time which kind of quietens down. Next season, perhaps, as well, because next season is looking like a season of sequels. I have got perhaps 4 anime I will be releasing upon, which is a step backwards from this season where I took on 5. And one of those animes is a possible, it just depends how it hits first episode. But if you guys want to know what those animes are, you're going to have to make sure you are tuned onto the channel to make sure that you guys get to see what I am releasing next season and whether you guys will be joining me. We've had a pretty decent episode. I am a big fan of things like lore, so this week's episode probably maybe felt heavy to some people with lore, but it's what I need. I need the lore to start understanding the world we're in. And as well, we're starting to see the King of Isolation, King Lonely, as Raz is, and things are starting to make a bit of sense. We've now got this big mystery between what actually happened between the Lord and Raz, why they actually got the relationship that they did, and obviously we know from the present that Raz is considered a traitor and he is apparently a cause of the Lord's eternal sleep. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they discuss that. Hopefully they wrap it up this season so it's not an ongoing thing. I figured it might be. I have a feeling that Raz is going to have to be forced into action to go to Ludonia if they take Sierra with them. But I can't imagine taking Sierra is going to be as easy a task as it sounds. So very, very excited. I think it's been a great episode. Also, thank you to you guys for tuning in weekly, sticking with me for the season as we are slowly approaching the end. I do hope you guys have enjoyed hearing my rambles as I've slowly stumbled through, pieced it together. I also thank you guys for not spoiling anything. I think when I had the God of High School, it was ruined for me by people spoiling things left, right, and centre, which does ruin it. Obviously, you guys as webtoon readers, it's probably annoying seeing me getting things horrifically wrong or making obviously I'm casting a observation on an anime and you guys have got the full picture. But thank you guys for being patient with me. I am definitely, hopefully you guys are just having fun watching baby piece things together. I am the baby and I'm trying to piece together the world that is Noblesse that you guys already have the handle on. So absolutely fantastic. Really enjoying having the fun of just piecing it together without spoilers. Both webtoons I have watched the adaptations for. I had spoilers for both. I am more a Tower of God fan than I am a God of High School fan, just because my favourite character in the God of High School apparently is evil, so kind of ruins it a bit if I'm kind of going down a path of expecting my favourite character to die at some point. So, absolutely fantastic. I don't think Franken's going anywhere anytime soon, as he is my boy for Noblesse. And Sierra, indeed, is my girl. Absolutely love watching her. And it's going to be exciting to see her step up a bit, because obviously she's now a main player in what's to come in hopefully these next 3 episodes. So make sure you guys are subscribed. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you are staying safe. Be like Rhaegar, guys. Wear a mask. Right. The release schedule for the channel. Monday, Tuesday, Moriarty. Loving it. Absolutely loving it. Tuesday, Wednesday, 3rd season of Golden Kamui. Wednesday morning is Ikebukuro Westgate Park. Wednesday night is Noblesse, the time of the webtoon. And Friday is Journey of Elena. I hope you guys are all having fun, enjoying the anime as we go, enjoying the anime season as well. I hope that many of you guys will stick with me till the next season and we get to rip apart some new animes to sink our teeth into. But until then, have a good one, guys, and see you next week. Bye-bye.